rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. And as you can see, I'm feeling just a little bit better. Still got a little bit of a head cold. I get, the ears. I'm not really hearing correctly. It feels a little stuffy up there, that kind of thing. Anyway, but I am getting better. It is moving along. My Mrs. Whiskey, thankfully, is much better. She's back to her normal self for the most part, which you can take that as a good thing or a bad thing. That's your choice. Anyway. All right, folks. Let's go ahead and get things started. So tonight's Pledge of Allegiance is going to be led by none other than 3 Chevy. So if you are of mine, please stand or remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. And follow along with 3 Chevy as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, we appreciate the fact that, he submitted that. That's a wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your version of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing the pledge in your style, and then take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email address. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. And, of course, I will go ahead and get you into the rotation as quickly as possible. Let's see here. Let me go back. Go and take a look at something here. And, of course, that's not going to run. So, all right. Okay, let's go ahead and, I wear their shirts all the time. I wear them, well, the majority of the time. Let's just put it that way. I wear their shirts the majority of the time, and they have some fantastic styles. And right now, if it would ever do what I want it to do, right now they're running a Patriots Day sale where you can take $20 off when you spend $100 by using promo code PATRIOT20 at theflagshirt.com. That's right, theflagshirt.com. And when you spend over $75 or more, also, they will give you free shipping. So not only can you take the $20 off when you spend $100, but you'll also get free shipping with this same order. It's just a fantastic deal. Once again, use promo code PATRIOT, PATRIOT 20 in the promo box at checkout to get that special deal. But I know not everybody can do that. Not everybody can purchase a bunch of stuff all at once. Sometimes maybe you don't like something. Maybe you haven't found the right styles or whatever, and you only want one. Well, that's fine. I'm going to help you out by, if you go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, that's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. You can get a code there, a promo code, different promo code, that you can copy and paste into the promo code box at theflagshirt.com at checkout and get yourself $5 off your order. That's, of course, if you don't want to take advantage of the Patriot 20 code for $20 off when you spend $100. So I've given you three different deals here. You should go to theflagshirt.com and check out all of their patriotic styles for men, women, kids, accessories, all kinds of stuff in the fantastic red, white, and blue. Go and check them out at theflagshirt.com. Theflagshirt.com. Get yourself patriotized. All right. Well, some sadness yesterday, and I know it was happening live while I was here it was discussed live while I was on the program, but there was apparently a shooting, mass shooting, I guess, at Florida State University. I suppose that's what you call the mass shooting. There's at least 2 dead, multiple wounded in this shooting. And at least 2 people were killed, unfortunately, and this is in Florida State University in Tallahassee. Now, they issued their alert, their active shooter alert, at about noon Eastern time, telling students to seek shelter and await further instructions. And an active shooter was reported in the area of the student union. Florida State University police responded to the shooting immediately, neutralizing the suspect and taking him into custody. The shooter has been identified as an FSU student and also the son of one of the sheriff's deputies. And in fact, one of the weapons apparently that was recovered was actually hers. There's not very many details in terms of how he got a hold of the weapon or anything else, but it apparently was an old service weapon. I guess the reports are that the sheriff's department had recently changed over to new service weapons, and as a matter of protocol, they allow the sheriff's deputies to purchase their old service revolvers whenever they're going through a revamp like that, and that is apparently where this weapon came into play. Now, apparently, at least initial reports are saying that the 2 victims who were killed actually attended the university themselves. At least that was what was being reported as of a press conference yesterday afternoon. It's Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare was saying that it was receiving and caring for patients from the shooting. At least 4 people were being treated for unspecified injuries, according to NBC News. The hospital later updated that number to 6 people, with 1 person in critical condition and 5 in serious condition. But anyway, now, President Trump, of course, addressed the shooting from the Oval Office during a meeting with the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, adding that he had been fully briefed as to where we are right now. He says, "It's a shame. It's a horrible thing. Horrible that things like this take place." And we'll have more to say about it later. So apparently the FBI was on the scene when Pam Bondi U.S. Attorney Pam Bondi was asked about it. And she goes, "Our priority is the safety of everyone involved. We will keep updating as we learn more." Now, the question came up with regards to the gun control thing to Donald Trump. Because, of course, after after if this kind of thing happens, okay, after this kind of thing happens, the first thing that comes out of everybody's mouth is calls for gun control. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I haven't seen any calls for gun control this time around. And I think part of it is because of the fact that Donald Trump, in that same press conference, basically said, well, it's tragic when these things happen, but we need to understand that this is a problem with the shooter, not the gun, and that as president, he has sworn to uphold the Second Amendment. What a difference 4 years makes. Now, keep in mind, please do not think that I am trying to downplay this tragedy, that I am attempting to downplay what occurred, all right? The reality of it, is that, these things are very tragic. Unfortunately, they do occur, and every single one of them, of course, has to deal with mental illness of some kind, because, I mean, let's face it, your desire to want to mass murder people indicates that there is some sort of a mental issue with you. But it is of note that nobody has really said anything. And in fact, the reality is that it hasn't even really hit the major newspaper. In fact, Daily Wire is where I got the information that I have. And as far as I'm aware, not everybody has really jumped in on all of this. So whether or not this becomes a nationwide story is going to be interesting to see. But it appears, at least for now, that the mainstream media is sort of not wanting to take up the banner on this one, because apparently they likely feel like it's not going to fit some kind of a narrative. So, yeah. Anyway, Florida State canceled all of the classes and athletic events on campus for the rest of this week. So, but anyway. Prayers for those victims, which again, the two victims, the two deaths, were apparently not students. So yeah, there isn't much more other than that. Now the sheriff did make a statement with regards to the weapon. So the weapon, again, was found at the scene, was not her firearm, not her service firearm, but it had been issued previously, that she had it issued previously by the department. And so, yeah. Well, and of course, I've got a couple people who are in Florida who watch this program, so the story is obviously bigger down there than it is in terms of the nationwide news. But again, it doesn't appear to have fit the narrative. Now, I'm going to say that the chances is that the weapon itself may have been either a semi-automatic or a revolver. In other words, a handgun, which doesn't fit the media narrative of the scary black assault rifles that get demonized in the news all the time. So, yeah. So anyway, that's kind of the thing. And, yeah. Yeah, it appears to have been a handgun, that was used, which doesn't fit the narrative. So that's part of the reason why the mainstream media hasn't picked up on it, or, hasn't been what do you call it? It wasn't worthy enough for nationwide news. But anyway, so prayers for those victims, even the ones that were hurt, but it's also especially the ones that were killed, for all of it. And yeah. Well, in regards to that, our Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, went and declassified a couple of docs this week. The first one, which tangentially connects to this, the first one is a ghost guns and hate crime Biden admin docs that were targeting domestic terrorism in particular. This piece coming from the Daily Caller, which is essentially that she declassified documents from the Biden administration on Wednesday, revealing how domestic terrorism was used as a pretext to attempt to curb gun rights and target misinformation. Former President Biden prioritized tackling purported domestic terrorism, and the newly released documents shed additional light on what his administration's strategy was. She announced the release of the strategic, this is what Biden called it, the Strategic Implementation Plan for Countering Domestic Terrorism on X. And she wrote that, as promised, I have declassified the Biden administration's Strategic Implementation Plan for Domestic Terrorism. And she gives a link. You can see that link right there. For what's essentially what is been declassified for this. And Biden's intelligence community zeroed in on firearms, specifically what they call ghost guns, high-capacity magazines, and assault weapons, the document showed. Now, again, I'm just going to point this out. Okay? I'm just going to point this out. And that is that statistically speaking, the vast majority of violence, gun violence, is perpetrated by handguns. That once again, his focus being on high capacity magazines and assault weapons, the ghost guns, the ghost guns are basically just guns that are homemade. And again, statistically speaking, ghost guns are not used in massive crimes like this. In fact, the vast majority of weapons used, again, statistically speaking, are handguns that were purchased more often illegally. Not illegally, legally, and then some have been stolen. But most of them were purchased legally. In fact, they went through the whole thing. So, in terms of the mass shooting events being done by assault weapons and, being mass killings and so on and so forth, there's more killings being perpetrated by just your blunt objects, your standard blunt objects like hammers, fists, whatever happens to be available, than assault weapons actually are, or long guns. Which is why, part of the reason why, many of us who are in the protectors of the Second Amendment community, why we all basically say you're going after the wrong thing. You're going after the wrong people. And not once is ever mentioned anything about handguns. There's not a single time that I've ever heard a Democrat, any kind of Democrat, stand up and talk about, oh yeah, we're going to go after the handguns. They never do. They never do. And so it's again, it's misplaced and misguided pushes for things like this that cause the public to be misinformed. And of course, the mainstream media, glorifies all of this, especially when it comes to a mass shooting of this type that fits a specific narrative, because you also have mass shootings that occur every single weekend in places like Chicago, and once again, by handguns that nobody ever says anything about. Now, the definition of a mass shooting is, depending upon who you speak to, is generally accepted to be 4 or more injuries or death as the result of gun violence. Well, again, that happens in Chicago almost every day, at least every weekend, especially on, weekends during the summertime and holidays and things of that nature. And yet not a single person wants to call that out as a problem. But gosh forbid, somebody wants to use a particular platform that has a resemblance to other weapons. And, they go and they, they demonize those individuals, even though they're law-abiding citizens. Well, here in the piece, sorry, I had to take a drink, because as I said, my throat is still a little off. But anyway, so here we go with the secret plan. Gun Owners of America responded on X, pointing out that Biden had this secret plan to eliminate the Second Amendment in the name of counterterrorism. They slammed the document on X. Now, keep in mind, that's their thought process, not necessarily mine, but the documents also demonstrated how the Biden administration was focused on countering hate crimes, bias-motivated crimes, particularly ones concerning xenophobia. It's interesting, though, because even though this document keeps pointing out, bias crimes and hate crimes, they didn't seem to really care much with regards to, Palestinian Islamo supporters beating up and threatening Jewish students on college campuses. They didn't seem to have a problem with that. They didn't even speak out against it, really, very much. Apparently, the administration was also trying to enact the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act to achieve various goals, according to the documents. And then the strategy also highlighted mitigating xenophobia and bias, including advancing inclusion in the nation's COVID-19 response. Biden's counterterrorism strategy also demonstrated how various agencies, including those outside of the intelligence community, coordinated to implement his agenda. Oh, wait, I thought they weren't using NGOs to, spy on people. For an example, the USAID, that's right, that same USAID that has since been the controversy that's been running around with Doge, that was named as coordinating with the Department of Homeland Security, State Department, and Department of Education. Wait, what does the United States Agency for International Development have to do with tracking down things like ghost guns? I mean, the whole purpose of that was to advance our image internationally, not nationally. I'm a little concerned or confused as to why they would use that. But anyway, those agencies were instructed to fund and develop digital literacy programming to counter domestic terrorism recruitment and online disinformation, according to the strategy. Maybe they were couching or hiding the idea of, again, propaganda. Now, keep in mind, that was all under Obama allowing that, because remember, we talked about this, where the Obama administration modified the foreign information going outbound to other countries, modified that law to make it so that before there was a block, there was a gap, purposely put in, by the way, from when the law was put into place to keep propaganda from coming and returning back to the U.S. And the Obama administration had removed that blockage, had removed that and said, well, you can't necessarily target directly. I mean, you can't fund it directly here on domestic soil, but if it happens to come back, who cares? Remember that? No, we talked about it a while ago, but anyway. So, so there's this that got released, and I don't think there's anything in there that I think that we would be superiorly surprised about. But yeah. So as a part of the piece here, it does say that Gabbard launched what was called the Directors Initiative Group in early April, which aims to tackle politicization of the intelligence community and restore accountability to it. So yeah, the document itself, the one that was declassified, also pointed out that and asserted within it that factors like growing perceptions of government overreach, that wasn't growing perceptions, that was actually happening, but anyway, could increase the possibility of domestic violent extremist attacks. The FBI and DHS also jointly authored a strategic intelligence assessment with assistance from the DNI in May of 2021, which highlighted what they called anti-government or anti-authority violent extremists, known as AGAVE, AGAAVE. And the document itself specifically addressed perceived government overreach, negligence, or illegitimacy as a driver of agaves. So, anyway. So that document got released, and also, too, which was an exclusive with the Daily Wire, and they have a interview with DNI Gabbard talking about the RFK assassination file drop. So apparently they went into the archives, the archive building, I should say, and long classified files pertaining to the 1968 assassination of Robert F. Kennedy are now available to the public. DNI Gabbard revealed this to the Daily Wire in an exclusive interview that was on Sunday, this past Sunday. So from the National Archives in College Park, Maryland, Gabbard said, "Today is a big day. It is the first time the country will be able to see the documents that have been sitting here at the National Archive Records Agency around the assassination of Senator Robert F. Kennedy." And you can actually go and look at those. If you go to, let's see, where is this at? If you go to www.archives.gov, /research/RFK. And there's a batch of files there if you really want to go and take a look and dig into those files. I know several conspiracy theory folks might be interested, and I'm saying conspiracy theory just basically just identifying them, not being critical of them in any way, shape, or form. But they went in, cameras went in and everything into a lab where the government employees were busily working to prepare the documents to be digitized. There were several thousand that had not been digitized yet and were still in boxes as a part of this entire thing. Gabbard said, quote, these boxes that have been here in storage, never scanned before, never viewed by the public before. But thanks to President Trump's leadership and his executive order mandating maximum transparency, we have had well over 100 people who have been working around the clock, going page by page, scanning them in, going through these reviews, all to lead us to this day where the 10,000 pages that have been sitting here are now going to be available online. Now, for those of you that are not much history folks, RFK served as an attorney general of the United States during his brother's presidential administration. He was elected to the Senate in 1965. He announced his presidential campaign in 1968 while representing New York in the upper chamber. On June 5th of 1968, Kennedy was shot and killed by Sirhan Sirhan, who was a Palestinian immigrant, during a campaign event at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. He was pronounced dead the next day. Sirhan admitted that he had shot Kennedy in a 1969 trial, though he claimed that he had no memory of doing so. 2 decades later, Sirhan told British journalist David Frost that he felt betrayed by Kennedy, whom he once viewed as a hero due to his support of Israel. Kennedy's autopsy report found that the senator was killed by a shot fired behind the ear, though Sirhan was supposedly standing in front of Kennedy. And that, of course, led some to speculate that Sirhan did not fire the fatal bullet. There, of course, is a proponent of the second gunman theory that's currently in government today, and that, of course, is RFK Jr. So, Kennedy, RFK Jr., was said in 2018 that he believes the people that were closest to Sirhan and the people that disarmed him all said he never got near his father. So anyway, he's RFK Jr. is under the belief that it wasn't Sirhan that did the deed. So anyway, so a lot of these files are coming out or have been put out now, and one thing that Gabbard did say, though, is that people will find in the release today, okay, that there is no, quote, smoking gun. There's a lot of things there that may not have been known previously that really call into question what really happened and who was behind it, which includes conversations that were happening in other countries and messages that were going around about the assassination itself. When she was asked about what other countries were involved, Gabbard pointed out a diplomatic cable that's part of the 10,000 files. It says, if you look at this memo alone, you'll see Kuwait, London, Tel Aviv, Beirut, Benghazi, all of these American embassies who were recipients of this cable. People are going to have to go to the website and read for themselves to kind of get an insight into what the conversations were like before and after Senator Kennedy's assassination. She does warn supposedly, that there are more questions than answers. So, anyway. So that got released today. Or this week. So they're working on transparency, although it's kind of interesting though that they still haven't done anything with Epstein. All they have to do is find the Epstein list, freaking publish it online, and that'll be it. But anyway. Well, one other thing happened this week, which this this is very interesting. If you go, and let me make sure I get this right. Let's see. The COVID. Yeah. So if you open up your browser and you go to the website covid.gov, COVID, COVID.gov. I encourage you guys to go ahead and do that. Do it. You want to right now. COVID.gov. Now, normally what would end up being there, just to kind of spoiler alert here, normally what would end up being there is information about how to get, shots and so on and so forth. But the White House has swapped it out. COVID.gov now redirects to whitehouse.gov and talks about the the lab leak theory. The true origins of COVID-19. And it goes through and has like a list here. You can see. Talks about it focuses on the House report on where the virus came from. And as you can see here in the video, they've got lists of stuff. They got a list of stuff here where number one, which is the number one reason as to why they say that the narrative of COVID-19 occurring naturally is incorrect. The number one reason is that the virus possesses a biological characteristic that is not found in nature. And as I pointed out a long time ago, I recall even talking on this program about it. That is the CGG genome combination that appears to have been inserted into the original genome of COVID-19, and that the original genome of COVID-19, that particular sequence only occurs in the lab. Now, it's possible for that sequence, the CGG, it is possible for that sequence to be created in nature, but it's never been found in nature yet. And so the only way that could have been created, unless this is like completely out of the blue, is the fact that a lab put it in there. And they keep going on. You can read through the whole thing. I'm not going to walk you through the entire thing, but it's just interesting that the White House has decided to do this, because now they're essentially saying in front of the world and everybody, hey, this is where COVID-19 came from. And they go through and list, 5 particular points about the about where COVID-19 came from. They also give you a map, Google Earth map. You can see where the seafood market supposedly is located versus the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and that there's about 8 miles in between them. So the chances of this having come from and just produced itself in a wet market is far-fetched at best. So They also have the House Oversight Report available for download. You can see right there. And you can download the report and learn all about it if you're interested in that. They also call out Anthony Fauci. They point out the fact that he has a pardon. This is kind of a shot against the bow, I guess. Anyway. So this is, yeah. Honestly, I think this is kind of like a trolling sort of thing for the White House. I mean, we all know how Trump likes to troll. But anyway, he's just, yeah. It goes through a lot of the points that we have discussed, with regards to it. There's also a video here. Looks like Rand Paul, talking about it because, of course, Rand was going after COVID-19 and after Fauci and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of other points here talking about the recommendations and how they were false and shutting down the schools, the mask mandates, the lockdowns, etc. They have a whole section on Andrew Cuomo and his failure, meaning that he took people and like put them into nursing homes, COVID positives, and put them into nursing homes and things of that nature. Yeah. So anyway, if you're interested in getting involved or getting into this, you can go and take a look. But all of this information has been sourced from the House Oversight Committee website and the House Oversight Report on COVID. So anyway, the Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic, which is the Select Subcommittee on it. But anyway, they put this up. So I thought that was kind of curious and that you folks would want to see it. And yeah, once again, go to covid19.gov, covid19.gov, and that'll redirect you where it needs, basically where it needs to go. So anyway, well, in other news, Axios is now reporting that Trump is once again revamping Schedule F. You recall in his first term, he revamped Schedule F, which is, I should say, a certain classification. Okay, a certain classification, and for government employees. And he has now revamped Schedule F again, making it easier to cut federal workers. You'll recall that Biden tried to revamp Schedule F as well in order to be able to keep workers, with the idea that they were going to try and stop Trump from firing workers. And yeah, so according to Axios, here's the piece. Trump is revamping Schedule F, making it easier to cut federal workers. And this was announced today by the Trump administration that's moving ahead with this new rule that will make it easier to remove federal employees it believes are undercutting Trump's agenda. Axios says, why does it matter? Well, by stripping civil service protections from about 50,000 people, roughly 2% of the federal workforce, Trump is continuing his far-reaching effort to trim the federal bureaucracy and make it more answerable to him. No, Trump is trying to get, I'm sorry, Axios is very left-leaning, it's a leftist propagandist outlet. But the point is that Trump is trying to get rid of the swamp bureaucracy that's out there for all of this. But anyway, they point out some other things, and as I pointed out, Trump, now they're claiming, of course, that while he was out of office, that obviously President Biden rescinded the order after he took office, but after taking office again in January, Trump signed the new executive order reinstating it and renaming it. that many of Trump's allies who pushed for Schedule F now have key roles in the administration, including Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller and Management of Budget Director Russ Vought. So anyway, of course they're complaining about it. Axios is, like I said. So if you want to read it, you can read it about it. And there's also what they call a go deeper section to basically what to know about it. So if you're interested in all of that. All right. Well, apparently some folks, the union folks in particular, who are, well, they're a little upset. They're a little upset because their clothing style or clothing choice for Starbucks workers is what they consider to be more conservative. Conservative? Well, Starbucks, according to the Epic Times here, Starbucks has implemented a new dress code. All right, let's be honest. Let's throw this out here. If you work for a company and they require a certain style of dress to represent their brand, their organization, their company, and you want to work for that individual company or organization, that you would adhere to the dress code. It's pretty simple. It's a condition of employment. Well, if you guys really want to know, here's what they did. And this is, I don't even understand why the union would be arguing about this. Starbucks announced a new dress code policy for its North American employees. It's supposed to take effect next month. According to an April 14th statement, Starbucks will implement a more restrictive dress code starting on May 12th across all North American locations. This is basically requiring employees to wear solid black tops with either khaki, black, or blue denim bottoms. Starbucks said since, our partners are the face of our brand and our iconic green apron has always been a special part of what makes us unique. Since 1987, the green apron has been the symbol for Starbucks Coffee Company, representing the hundreds of thousands of retail partners in North America who connect with customers every day. The company said that the dress code aims to focus on simplified color options that allow our iconic green apron to shine and create a sense of familiarity with our customers, no matter what store they visit across America. Under the new guidelines, employees must wear any solid black shirt and any solid black short and long-sleeved crew neck, collared, or button-up shirts, and any shade of khaki, black, or blue denim bottoms. Honestly, that's like how much more simple can you get? You need a black top of just about any style based off of this, and any shade or style of khaki, black, or blue denim, meaning you can wear jeans, bottoms. That's a fairly simple work uniform. At least they're not trying to have them wear, black tops and black pants all the time, no matter what, as an example. I mean, you do have the option of it. Anyway, I don't understand why these people would be so messed up on all of this, but Starbucks Workers United, which is the union representing many of the employees, has criticized the decision in a statement posted on the social media platform X. Oh, I love it when they just go to public. They just go straight out there. Anyway, Starbucks just announced its plans. This is their quote. Starbucks just announced its plans for a significantly more conservative dress code. Notice that. Conservative dress code. See that? Anyway, instead of finalizing fair contracts with our union and addressing actual issues at stores, such as understaffing and lack of guaranteed hours, Starbucks is choosing to waste time on policies that make stores less welcoming to both workers and customers. Does anybody tell me whether or not, if you, generally speaking, when you have a uniform, that is to help identify you as a well, in this case, a Starbucks, but as an employee of that organization, why would you, I'm confused. Anyway, the union then expressed concern about the impact on its company's diverse workforce. Says this new dress code hurts partners. Starbucks workers are racially diverse, disabled, queer, and trans. We need a dress code that allows us to show up as our full selves at work. Now we get to it. Well, yeah, I noticed something that's missing out of all of this. There's no dress code requirements for like hair color. They're not telling you that, hey, you have to have, your natural hair color. They're not telling you you can't have piercings all over your face or whatever else. They're not telling you that you can't, put on either multicolored or bright colors or not so bright colors in your makeup or whatever. They're not telling you that you can't paint your nails however you want. All they are simply asking for is a consistent look across their entire North American stores, which is pretty much a black shirt of whatever kind of style that you want, and either khakis, blue jeans, or black pants. That's it. I don't think, outside of just saying, hey, show up to work in whatever you want, which I think is what the union folks are looking for. Outside of that, I don't see any, I really don't see why this is that big of a deal, but apparently it is. It also says that the new policy restricts gender expression. Really? Potentially forcing trans workers into dysphoria-inducing clothing. Really? Creates financial hardship for employees who can't afford to buy a brand new wardrobe just to be in dress code. Now, keep in mind that the company is also providing like 2 shirts that they said. So they were providing a couple of shirts for, yeah, it's a good point, Buddy. Buddy points out there wasn't anything that I saw within this article that was talking about facial tattoos, whether or not you have them or not. I mean, again, in terms of how far off this goes, I mean, this is very mild in comparison, and yet they seem to be freaking out about it. That just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But hey, whatever. All right. Well, in other news, the whole Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony situation, where Carmelo Anthony stabbed and killed Austin Metcalf. Well, apparently Metcalf's family is taking the heat and the brunt of some more things against them, which, why these people do this? They're so, They are so insensitive, let's say. According to Fox 4 KDFW, which is a Dallas-Fort Worth television station, Austin Metcalf's family was targeted by a swatting call on Thursday, according to Frisco police. Now, I can also tell you Sean Farish was swatted. He and his wife posted it on social media. Sean Farish is the gentleman who does a extremely well impression of our commander-in-chief. But anyway, Austin Metcalf's family was targeted in a swatting incident yesterday. Frisco police say they received a false report of a shooting at the home. This is, of course, after Metcalf was stabbed and killed at a track meet in Frisco on April 2nd. Frisco police were called to the home of Austin Metcalf's family, and they later described the call as swatting. Why can't people just leave these people alone? I mean, seriously. It just makes no sense to me. Why would you even bother with it? Just leave the goddamn family alone, folks. They're in mourning for their family. It just anyway. Well, the swatting, of course, is continuing. People are doing it. They're doing it all over. There was a couple others that I think I've seen, but anyway. Well, one last article, and then we'll break for the day. So the whole birthright citizenship has now reached SCOTUS, and they will actually hear oral arguments on May 15th with regards to the federal government's request to be allowed to implement Donald Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship. So, yeah. Now, this is through the emergency document, emergency docket, I should say. And so this is something where the court kind of puts the other cases on hold, and this is something that has to happen immediately. And just the fact that the Supreme Court has put this on the emergency docket very quickly is an indication that they believe, that the court believes, that this is a constitutional crisis. Now, they did leave in place the orders by 3 separate federal judges that prohibit the government from enforcing the executive order anywhere in the country until it can hear the oral arguments and rule on the Trump administration's request. So, anyway, it's going, and now we've got it. And so hopefully by the end of this particular emergency hearing, and hopefully not too far out, we'll get a better idea as to where the Supreme Court is going to sit after the oral arguments in terms of whether or not they are going to support the idea that no matter who your parents are, if you were born here, regardless of whether you're here illegally, whether your parents are illegals or not, and you're born here, whether you're immediately an American citizen, or if there is something more to that 14th Amendment definition that says, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So, and I'm sorry, buddy, I disagree. The Constitution is not clear on this matter. It's not clear. To me, it is clear in the fact that you have to be born here as well as have at least one parent who is a citizen, which would give you the combination of being subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That is specifically what The writers of the 14th Amendment, or the advocates of the 14th Amendment, were talking about based on the debates that happened within the Senate in all of it. But we'll see if the court goes to the originalists or if it goes to the not so originalists. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And while you are there, get yourself signed up and signed in, and find and follow the American Perspective channel. You hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up and like buttons across all of my platforms, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, X, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is Saturday. It's 1 hour later, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.